What is up, everybody? So I had a pretty amazing week of riding bikes. Lots of great weather, lots of different friends, lots of different terrain. On Monday, it was actually the only day of the week that I rode my bike alone. I needed to sneak out and just get some miles in because I had to work in Columbus for a day and a half, and I knew I really wouldn't have time to get out then, and I needed to get all my work done before I took off. This next week is supposed to be super busy for me, and we're not going to have this summer-like weather either, so I'm glad I was able to get out every day except for that day where I was working down in central Ohio. I'm also loving that the days are long now, and Ohio is beautiful again with the green trees and the flowers everywhere. So meeting up at 6 o'clock for my regular group ride and knowing that we have hours of daylight left. When we met up at the bike shop to do this ride, Ben had asked, do we want to do the longer route or the shorter route? And we all voted for the longer route. As you can see, the weather is glorious. It wasn't going to stay that way, but, it was a beautiful day and it was so warm that even if the storms ended up getting us, it wasn't going to be cold or anything like that. So we kind of bombed directly through North Akron, through Cuyahoga Falls, and out to the bike path. But there was some more gnarly stuff in store for this ride as well. We were first heading to Old Stanford Road. It's a closed road in the Cuyahoga Valley. It's quickly deteriorating. The rumor is that it's actually going to be taken out completely. They're going to pull up the pavement. I assume it'll remain a hiking path. I'm guessing at that point we won't be allowed to ride it anymore. There's not any no bike signs around here, and I passed park rangers a number of times, and they've only waved and smiled. So for now, apparently it's cool to ride it. Just be careful. There are some big washouts, as you can see, in trenches if you head out this way. I was riding my drop bar Raleigh Tamland 2 44 mil tires, which is pretty good for this ride. Of course, you could always go wider on the stuff like that, but with how much pavement and bike trail we also did, this was the right choice. Also, the other three riders on this are stronger than me, so I do like being on this bike sometimes when we're all riding together if the terrain isn't going to be too gnarly. This was pretty cool here with the rainbow off in the distance, but we could also see that there was some heavy rain and even thunderstorms in the area. It was kind of one of those days where it's like, man, if you just find yourself under the wrong cloud. On our way across to the other side of the valley here, we did start to get rained on. We got fairly wet, but the timing worked out because the rain actually stopped, and by the time we got to our dinner destination, we weren't completely soaked. And when we left from dinner, it wasn't raining again yet. So it's always nice when you get to start a little bit dry and not in the pouring rain. So we were actually able to eat our dinner out on a patio. So we climbed out of the valley on what used to be Everett Road. This was an open road when I was younger, right by my high school and everything. But a number of years ago, they completely pulled out the pavement. For a few years, it was rideable, kind of like a gravel road as the asphalt had deteriorated. And I know there were a lot of cyclists that pushed to keep it open, but they ended up pulling out the pavement. The county says they actually make money on grinding that up and selling it. Seems mind-blowing to me that that's a profitable endeavor, but they say it is. So anyways, now it's more like this winding single track, which is really fun to ride. This is another one where I'm not sure this will be rideable in a few years. I'm not sure if they'll actually try to stop you or if it'll just become completely overgrown. but for now, it's kind of a great route up out of the valley and into Richfield. So the way home was back through Bath, back down into the Cuyahoga Valley and onto the towpath. By this point, we were getting absolutely soaked, but again, like I said, it was warm enough and I was close enough to home that it really didn't matter that much. The ride on Thursday was a separate video because that's when I interviewed Erin about riding her crust-bound borer with her sweep bars. So this was Friday and her second ride on the bike now that she's converted it to sweeps from drops.
Where was he going?
He forgot his stuff at the brewery.
We had put a message out to some friends about riding bikes and getting some beer somewhere on Friday night. It was cool. One of my friends who's a teacher, school year ended, so he was available, and kind of just a different group. This thing I'm riding here is this new piece of infrastructure that's supposed to keep you from going over the road you could see in the background. I don't know, man. These switchbacks are a little tight. I guess for going the other way and up the hill, it'll make sense, but I feel like for going down, I'm going to stay on the shoulder on the road. I don't know. We'll see. They put in a whole new bridge and everything, but you still have to cross the road at grade, so I'm not sure how much of an improvement it is. So this ride was the Freedom Trail out to Kent, Ohio. It was a real pleasant surprise that Franklin Street was closed down for the year. This is where a lot of the bars and restaurants are. And if throw back to my video about the bike lanes where people talk about like bike lanes, blah, 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 businesses don't like them. All the businesses here love this street being closed down. They kill it. When we got here, there were lines outside different bars. You could see people there waiting at the window to get their drinks. The place just kills it in the summer when the streets close down and the whole city comes out, and it's so pleasant. Kent used to feel a little bit like a ghost town once the students were out of school for the summer, and that is not the case at all anymore. And it's all about making stuff for pedestrians and cyclists. So one thing is I always love riding new and different trails, but sometimes even when you do the same thing, it's all about the people you're riding with. So getting this crew together on this night and just the conversations you have while you're out riding your bike, even if it's something you do often, which also ties into Saturday. Me and Erin and Brad just decided to ride down to the bike shop right when they were closing. Otis, the owner, and his new employee, Brian, a buddy, ended up getting off work right then. We're like, hey, we're going to ride somewhere. Why don't we go out to Magic City? So a ride down the towpath through downtown Akron that we do all the time. But again, just different conversations, riding with different friends, just always changes the vibe and makes it worthwhile. I didn't do a ton of filming on the Friday and Saturday rides. As I mentioned, they're just rides we do a lot, but still just a great weekend of riding with friends. On Sunday, Erin, Ben, Brad, and I went for a ride. Erin had planned a route that was a little bit mixed. Some trails we ride a lot, but some new roads that even parallel the trails, just trying to fill in our Wanderer map. Like I always say, it's a little app that we like to use. It just shows you everywhere you've ever ridden, and you get points for riding new places. First, we dropped down into the Cuyahoga Valley and rode the towpath. We don't ride the towpath a lot on summer or, it's late spring weekends because it just can be so crowded that sometimes I forget how absolutely beautiful it is and what a treasure it is to have this so close to home. Because a lot of times we'll ride the roads to the Cuyahoga Valley or just go ride paths or trails that are a little less crowded. I even remember when I was a kid when it was first open, me and my dad, when we'd ride, we'd skip it and go out to the hike and bike or something that was a little less busy. And so me and my friends a lot of times ride this more on weekday nights or in the winter. But yeah, to go out on a summer day and just enjoy it and know that, yes, there's going to be other traffic out there, but it's also kind of fun just to see who is out and about. And it's just a really, really pretty trail that is I don't know, it's a gem of Northeast Ohio. We first stopped in the Merriman Valley over at a coffee shop to get some coffee and snacks for the ride. The first parts of the trail from where we start are maintained by Akron and then the Summit Metro Parks. But as you get down here, now we're into the Cuyahoga Valley National Park. This was the first part of the towpath that was completed. It was in the early 90s. I remember even dropping down here when I was a kid from my parents' house, and we would go out and ride out to Peninsula and get lunch, and it just seemed so cool. And it still does. This is kind of what would be considered the last leg of the Ohio to Erie Trail, because the towpath does not go all the way to southern Ohio. It ends, and then you break off onto other bike trails and roads and stuff like that. So I like watching YouTube videos of people who are doing Ohio to Erie from Cincinnati to Cleveland to see what their reaction is when they get to our area, because in my opinion, it's one of the most beautiful parts of the trail. The towpath trail actually runs from Cleveland 110 miles south, but beyond that, most of the sections have been destroyed over the years, are turned back to farm fields, our roads have been built over it. But I think for our summer trip this year, we're actually thinking of starting in the town where it ended on the Ohio River, Portsmouth. I guess there's not much left down there. I think one of the oldest locks is just next to a gas station in a ditch. So anyways, I always kind of wanted to see that area, so it might be part of our summer vacation plans. Oh, my buddy Mario right there. So this was the first longest ride Erin had done on the sweet bars, and I think she's really happy with them. She was saying it's the most comfortable she's been on her bike on a long ride. Get a lot of weird comments from people. Not a lot. Most of the comments are really positive or just really thoughtful questions, but about like her bike not fitting her and all this weird stuff. I think a lot of it might be the GoPro angle, like the wide angle from me filming down on the bike that makes bikes look small. Her bike fits her to an absolute T. She's had a professional bike fit before, and by every sizing chart, it's right on point. So we broke off the towpath here and headed up an abandoned road, Old Akron Peninsula Road. It's a really challenging climb, really steep at the bottom, and it's another deteriorating road, so you really have to pick your line well. I didn't film the actual climb because I was too busy huffing and puffing and climbing it. I have to mention all the goofing around and funny faces that my friends are making. I was telling about a YouTube comment I got where some guy said, "The thing I hate about bike packing is there always has to be that one guy who makes faces at the camera." And I was like, that's the thing you hate about bike packing? Man, you need to lighten up, bro. So anyways, yes, my friends and I like to have fun, and they might smile and make faces at the GoPro. Sorry that offends you so much. So we had ridden on some roads into Hudson, Ohio. Pretty good route. Even some of this stuff was marked for bikes, as you could see here. And where we had to cross over the freeway and stuff like that wasn't even as bad as we had expected it to be. These trails here go through Hudson. They come out of a park and they go between a golf course and a neighborhood. There's all kinds of ordinance signs from Hudson. So if there were not going to be bikes allowed here, there would be signs up. So there are these really cool gravel trails. I've only ridden them once or twice before. But yeah, like kind of hard to find because they don't really go between places that you would go if you were just, out for a typical bike ride. But yeah, really awesome. This is another thing some small percentage of people get bent out of shape about, like when we don't follow all the traffic laws. Like, there were no cars there. I don't know if maybe you just can't see it from the GoPro, but no one was coming. I'm not going to sit at a stop sign on my bike when there's no one coming. I know bikes are supposed to follow the same rules as cars. If you follow them all, more power to you. I'm going to roll through a stop sign when there's no traffic. Bikes don't kill people. Cars need to stop because they go too fast, and if they hit someone, they're going to die. Anyways, this is another little section of bike trail that Erin had found that we had never been on before. So another little cool find. She made a really good route on this day. It turned out to be 44 miles overall.
Oh, really?
This sign was a road closed sign for a bridge being out. We decided to gamble and see if we were going to be able to get across it anyways. I was very conscious of the fact that we were bombing down hills on the way to get there, and if it was closed after a couple miles, we were going to have to go turn around and climb back up these hills. But it turns out the road was just really close to cars, and there was no reason you couldn't walk across it on a bike. The other great thing about that bridge being out is it made it so we had the roads on either side pretty much to ourselves. This section here, we are in Kent, Ohio. We were heading to Bentry to get another coffee stop in, but we were making a little bit of roundabout and cul-de-sacs and loops just to fill in our wanderer map even more.
Go to Hot Wheels.
We took the Summit County hike and bike back into Cuyahoga Falls. One of my favorite parts of the hike and bike is this because it's just not a typical flat rail trail. It's up and down, and if you ride it right, you can kind of get enough speed on the downhills to cruise around the curves and back on the uphills. It's just a really unique trail for being a rail trail paved in this area. A few of the OGs had commented on how comfortable Erin looks on the bike these days from when these videos first started, and I have to agree, and she's the one who's making this route with all these cool cuts and everything. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. So a week with 173 miles of riding, about 6,000 feet of elevation overall, and this beautiful weather and all these friends. Pretty much perfect. Looking forward to starting to do some bike packing over these next few weeks, so stay tuned for some of that. I will see you in the next video. Give this video a like for me. Peace.